I can't even tell you guys how good it feels to be back talking about the series that started it all, Manifest. This was the first series I talked about on this channel. Well, I actually wanted to talk about it so bad that I created this channel so I could start making videos about TV and movies. So let's finish out the second part of the final installment, season 4 of Manifest, with a bang. Episode by episode, full in-depth recaps and explanation, all in attempts to finally figure out the mystery of Flight 828. If you need a recap on the first half of season 4, I have episode by episode recaps that I will link in the description, so make sure to go check those out. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification button as well. But if you're all caught up with us, let's start with episode 11, Final Descent. They always got the best episode titles. We start out with a man in his secluded forest home watching a news segment about the events of Season 4 Part 1. You know, Angelina literally tearing the earth open. An explosion happens nearby that he goes to check out and is met with armed forces gunning him down instantly, showing that law enforcement and the government has completely cracked down on the 828 situation. This seems to set off Cal's dragon scar as well, something that hasn't happened since... you know. But checking in with Olive and Cal, we are now 8 months into the future, bringing us 9 months until the death date. Since we last saw our favorite passengers, any 828er has been arrested and placed in the 828 detention center, meaning Olive and Cal, going by Gabriel, have been fending for themselves along with Eden. Props to Olive for holding it down though. At the detention center, Mick is not holding up too well, but I don't blame her. Ben is doing what Ben does, and Sanvi is continuing out research in a lab at the building. Well, obviously not her own research unfortunately, but most likely whatever Gupta or someone tells her to do. Whenever a passenger has a calling, they go to her for a brain scan. While trying to sleep through the pain, Mick has a calling, except this one is a little different than usual. The glow shows up in the room and Zeke appears from it, saying that he is in the divine consciousness, where there is infinite space and time. And he and the others in the glow spend their time connecting with one another. Very heaven-esque, you know? But Mick notices he is wearing his sister's necklace that he got rid of before he died, meaning the glow he is in right now is the glow he was in the night at the cave before we ever even met Zeke. The only time he went through the glow was 2018, so he is viewing present day through that 2018 lens. Remember, in the glow you see everything including the future. Yet we're gonna have a lot to unpack the rest of this season. But this is interrupted by Bethany having a calling of her wife's voice and is screaming that she is in trouble and needs to go help her. As the guards are detaining her, Mick and Ben take this chance to try and escape. They are met by Vance, who is still on our side, and he takes their tracking chips out and helps them get away. What a legend. God, I hate this lady, bro. What's her name? Zimmer or something? That's like way too cool of a name for someone that sucks this much. But she and the government have been convinced enough by these miraculous events that the passengers have to follow the callings in order to stop the death date. So Sanvi brings in the reported callings to her and she assigns Jared and Drea to go out and solve the calling. Honestly, that's more than I expected them to do, so I'm at least happy someone's trying to solve them. But only so much can be done with the passengers locked inside. Dude, Zimmer, man. She literally just says flat out she doesn't care about the passengers, just cares about studying them. She's first team all terrible with Angelina. But we also find out that there are 13 fugitive passengers that they're trying to hunt down, including Angelina and Cal, and they put a $50,000 bounty on all their heads? Have we not seen what people do in this world? Ben and Mick go home to see the family, but more importantly to find out why Cal's scar glowed for the first time since Zeke died. Back to the board, baby, let's go. Ben and Mick set out to go find Bethany's wife and hopefully solve the calling. Real quick, this isn't the same girl that played Eden, right? I know 8 months is a lot of time, but hold on, let me just look it up real quick. Yeah, no, that's not the same child, no way. But Ben and Mick head to Zeke's mom's house to use her car because Olive and Cal had to sell theirs to survive. Damn, high-key, these kids are some soldiers, man. But shout out to the GOAT Sanvi for scanning Ben and Mick's trackers and the jig is up. Yep, it took about 10 minutes for them to get caught. Quick sentimental calling, of course, and back to Jared and Drea, where they go to Bethany's house only to find these two guys, the other cops, destroying the place first. Right on cue, they all find out that Ben and Mick escaped. Over with Cal, and his scar lights up again when he grabs an apple. He's then sent to a calling on the plane where the apple rolls over to Bethany's chair. He sits down and we see Cal's new power. While in the plane, whichever seat he sits in, he can see the calling of that passenger. So for Bethany, he sees the calling that freaked her out, her wife screaming next to an abandoned looking barn. But this is big news. Cal is becoming like the Thanos of callings. Ben and Mick make it over to Bethany's where her wife is there picking up the mess the registry left. And just in time, Cal calls and they figure out that Bethany's wife was supposed to go and meet Vasek. Remember him? He was in like the second calling ever. Anyway, she was going to meet him at this old barn because he needed help and she has been aiding the fugitive passengers. Pretty weak calling for the last set of episodes, but hey, whatever. They go to the barn and are met with the Xer that befriended Jared. Didn't think I'd see this guy again. But he was following Bethany's wife, knowing she's helping the 828ers, in hopes to cash in on that bounty. Cops question Olive and Cal, and of course they aren't snitching, but a picture that Eden drew saying, "Welcome home, Daddy," leads them to taking Cal's phone to track Ben and Mick. Over to Ben and Mick as they are leaving the barn, and they see a giant cross-like shape burned into the ground in this field, obviously from an airplane. But does this mean that 828 crashed here? Did the NSA blow up the plane right here? So many questions right now. But Ben thinks that they should go back because as captains of the lifeboat, they need to be with the passengers, or at least Ben does, to act as like a strategist to surviving the death date. And I couldn't agree more. We round out the episode with Ben saying his goodbyes and going back, Mick seeing Zeke again, then her going back to the detention center to work with Ben. Let's go. A little classic manifest montage to pull at the heartstrings. Vance goes to check out the plane footprint, and we end with the best reveal possible. Captain Daly is back, but unfortunately he is stuck in the NSA lab. Okay, so how did Daly come back? The last time we saw him was at the end of Season 3 when he came back with the plane but then disappeared again. So this must mean that the plane came back again with him and Fiona in it, crashed in that field which left that mark, and the government stole the plane with him in it. And it must have just been sitting in the glow the whole time, hence Cal seeing Daly and Fiona when he went back to the plane. Alright, this is coming together, but speaking of the glow, something I knew was going to come but I didn't know how. Zeke making an appearance. So he came down through the glow, channeled into Mick, and was able to have a conversation with her. Again, kind of like Cal when he went back. He is in the glow from 2018 because that's the only time he experienced it. But the glow is always happening, there is no time. And remember how we know while you're in the glow you see everything plus the future? Well, Zeke is seeing everything that happened since he originally came back. So while he's in the glow, he remembers Mick. But this brings the question, after he comes back from the glow back in 2018, will the calling still lead him to finding Mick and the rest of the family? Even though the main calling of this episode was pretty weak and overall the episode was kind of light, we got some huge scenes. The plane footprint, Zeke coming back, and most importantly, Daly is back. Going into next episode, I'm excited to see Ben lead the charge as they solve the callings the old-fashioned way. How is Cal's new capability going to help if he's outside of the detention center? How much can Vance help without him being top dog anymore? And we need some more answers on Zeke time traveling and shit. Even though I called this episode light, I still loved it, and I'm just so glad we're back. 8 months of waiting, and from what it seems, it looks like we're going to get answers to everything we've been confused on for over 4 years now. Of course, as we go on, we will have more time to go over developments, but this was, just the foundation, first episode. But it's interesting to see them jump 8 months ahead, though. And it actually kind of works out better that way because they do have a lot to cram in these 10 episodes. That's what I was always worried about from the get-go with this season. But either way, next video will hopefully be dropping in 2 to 3 days, and the plan is to keep to that schedule until we get to the end, and of course, do another full deep dive video on what exactly happened to Flight 828. So I'm gonna go watch episode 2 and write the script, but I'll see you guys real soon.